Okay, so we are coming out of the closed session. There are no action items to report. So that's done.
Can you summarize what was discussed?
Yes, I can. The conference, we talked about the labor negotiation section 54957.6, agency designated representative, Eric, to represent us with the employees, or the Marinwood Fire Department.
Okay.
That's all we can legally say.
Well, you can summarize what discussed. It's really not acceptable to say there's nothing to report, and this is
I
been
didn't
the
say that there was
board's,
nothing
this
to
has been the
report.
board's response every time you go into closed session.
Correct.
And that is not transparent.
My words were not that there was nothing to report. My words were that there was no
you-
action items to report on.
Okay, no, I'm
So-
just trying to articulate why I'm asking the
I
question.
understand that,
I
but there's
appreciate your
certain-
response.
Correct, there's certain things that we discuss in closed session that legally we cannot say.
You can characterize the discussion.
I cannot yet.
You can
So-
characterize the discussion as you just did, which is good, that's informative, I appreciate that.
Okay,
Okay, I was really responding to Saban's terse response.
okay, thank you. Okay, agenda item F, or,
You guys close the session.
Consent.
Consent calendar. Sorry,
that's F.
sorry. No,
I
you're right.
messed up myself. I
No,
didn't
don't, I'll make that.
add it. Consent calendar.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Any,
Public comment.
well, do we have any questions or anything about it? Okay. Public comment on the consent calendar?
Yes, why don't we ever have discussions, specific discussions on expense items? I will follow up on that remark in upcoming remarks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Public comment?
Yes.
Jeff?
Before I start, if the board cannot answer these questions or respond to them this evening, I'll be happy to submit them in writing, just so I
And
can
this is-
understand.
This is for the
This is-
consent calendar, correct?
That is correct,
Okay.
yes. I'm talking about, first, payment 8097 and 8104. The district is paying for a pump for a San Rafael fire truck.
809.
I can answer these if you want.
And what was the second number?
80978104.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if you want. Eric, if you want to.
Yeah, well, the city of Santa Fe does do maintenance on the fire engine. It goes through their mechanic. They do charge a slight labor rate plus past parts at cost. It's significantly cheaper than going through a third-party mechanic for it.
Okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding. Is this a transposition error? Are we talking about 568? Our truck?
Yeah, well, number one is 658, actually, they're both 658, it's, yes, engine 658 is the type 3.
Okay, all right, fine, thank you.
And then, yeah, to answer your other question on 8104, the water pump, not part of the engine, but the part that actually connects and pumps water from hydrants, shoots it out, had to be replaced.
I see, okay, thank you.
And that was not done through Santa Fe.
Next question? Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
8129 and 54 are the overtime amounts for the last two pay periods. Is this exclusively due to the open position?
Not exclusively, no. It's whenever there's a vacancy, somebody takes vacation or sick or whatever as well.
Okay, but
and
no
it's
out of district,
No.
you know.
No, out of county.
Was most of this payable to San Rafael?
No, very little of it was, if any.
Okay, so our own staff are taking most of the overtime.
Yep.
I see, thank you. Okay, and the next question, again, if I have to submit this in writing, I'll be happy to do it. 8140 and 8151 is payment to Soled for $671.99 and the PG&E electric bill. How long does our contract for Soled last?
It was a 20-year agreement, we're probably 8 years in, so 12 more years.
We're only 8 years in? Okay, all right, 12 more. And I guess the big question is, with PG&E changing their rate structures and their credit structure, is this still penciling out? Is this still a good deal?
Yeah, we're still pumping energy back in, and the rates we pay for solar are significantly cheaper because those are set and predetermined rates written into the agreement as opposed to PG&E, which goes up by much higher percentages year over year.
Okay, understood, thank you. Appreciate the answers. I'm done.
Thank you for the questions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, let's do first, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. G, public comments.
Yeah, so,
The humor bell.
I don't know, maybe I should just wait till it runs out. No, I don't want to do that. Listen, I have been pretty much disengaged for like the last 6 months, and the reason why is I hate to say it, I've just given up on the district. I just don't know why I come here every month. I ask for park benches for our seniors. It seems like so easy. I ask for better maintenance in our park. We've got all this erosion issue happening. I ask for a bathroom, a functioning bathroom, not a porta potty like some, you know, we're a very wealthy district. We should be able to improve just basic aspects of the physical plant here. I hate to say it, I'm going to point fingers now. It is a management issue. We have a office manager, we have a rec manager, both of whom have no experience in park maintenance and outdoor maintenance. I take direct experience. That's not their specialty. We really need someone to take that role, someone with vision, and we need more than that. We need you to be involved and say, this is our legacy, this is our land. We can do a better job. We can do a better job for our community. Not spend more money, just a better job. And I ask you to do that. You know, on Friday, the Friday night drinking party was happening, and one of the neighbors who was in his cup said, "Hey, what do you think of our horseshoe pit now that we've got this dirt on it?" I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding. That horseshoe pit was never properly constructed. There's no drainage, and it looks real tacky. Why not do a proper job? What the hell is the matter with you guys? Just, this is a multi-million-dollar operation. You've just got a big tax increase, and all you're talking about is raises for some staff members. You're not looking at the big picture of what this district is about. It's parks, fire, and lights, I guess. So pay attention to the parks and the people. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the fire.
Can you talk then? Just kidding.
Okay, here
Sorry.
goes.
Go, Jeff.
So, during the pandemic, this board demonstrated the ability to hold its meetings with Zoom. I'm wondering why we're not doing that anymore. Why shouldn't that be a way to draw more people into this meeting and get more feedback? For instance, some clown that goes to Maine for the summer and can't attend the meetings physically could attend on a Zoom meeting and engage with you folks on, issues for this district. Is there a problem with doing that? I wonder why we stopped.
Well, we never started because us being on Zoom was not through this room. It was through either home computers or our own
Understood.
computers.
Could
So
it
it
be?
wasn't, it's something that we could discuss and add, but I don't think it's
I'm happy to respond.
all you.
To be clear, the allowances for Zoom have ended. So the way the boards used to hold the meetings, like and have pure remote participation, you're no longer allowed to do that anymore. To set it up here, you could set up a quote-unquote hybrid meeting, but then also with that, to Kathleen's point, we would need some investment in the technology by which to do it. You'd want a dedicated camera operator during the meetings and somebody who's actually, monitoring and dealing with the Zoom part, so we need to bring in another staff person to kind of take care of that. I've talked to Marinwood CSD about that. They do, they're the ones who does the board of supervisors meetings. They're not cheap by
Okay.
any stretch. And we just don't really have the infrastructure, and you'd be putting in permanent infrastructure in a room that's used for 1,000 different things on any given day.
Okay, understood. All right, I thought I'd ask.
I
Yep.
think it's a good question. I guess, well, I mean, and is there a reason why we wouldn't, just have the meetings as they were during the pandemic?
Can I just interrupt really quick? Are we allowed to discuss this?
No.
Oh, we're not, okay, sorry,
No, I do wanna hear what you have to say. I just
Yeah.
wanna make sure that we stay
okay.
on cue,
No, you bring up a good point.
that
Mhm.
if we can add it or something,
No, you
but I
bring
don't
up a
think
good
we
point.
can
Uh-huh.
discuss.
Okay, thanks. I did notice, I thought I noticed Zoom throughout the bills paid, and I thought it was still an active thing.
We have a Zoom subscription,
Yeah.
and it gets utilized more so on a staffing level at this point than anything else, but we maintained our subscription, which is relatively cheap, as well as the webinar add-on, so.
I see. Okay, well, thank you. I won't take any more of your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I asked you. Thank you. Okay. H, district matters. Oh,
Oh, okay, well, we'll go
that's
ahead.
good.
Yeah, let's move to
Budget.
H1, first draft district operating budget. I gave you guys a staff report. I won't go through everything I wrote here, but I will say, again, just, this is the very first round. We've all kind of been through this before. It'll continue to grow and evolve. A lot of the major revenue drivers haven't really been thoroughly analyzed, including basically all of the recreation department. Luke and Robin and I will sit down and John Paul and go through everything. So for your next draft budget, you'll have rep projections added into it. On the expenditure side, that also includes part-time and seasonal staff wages, any planned recreation program contractors, all of our insurances, utilities, all of that. I usually kind of go through and look at what are anticipated increases, what are historic usages for 12-month periods, and actually put a little thought into putting that together. So that just takes time. It'll come with subsequent things. You'll look at draft budgets every meeting leading up now until May 14th, which is ideally when I'll have a proposed budget in front of you by which to formally adopt. A couple notes that are on here. just in terms of full-time staffing wages, staff-related costs, have been updated to current staff census models, meaning anybody who we know has a planned step increase, things like that have already been put into there. Also, the proposed wages for non-represented staff, that was discussed at the last meeting, has also been put into here. So those numbers are in there as placeholders. It does not account for any potential wage increases that may come from negotiations with the safety personnel labor group, the firefighters. So as more is known on that and or approved, those will eventually make their way into the budget as well. A couple more specific notes, district-wide, all of the taxes I've pretty much left at the same place with the exception of the top line, which is current secured. The number that I've put in there for right now is actually the number that I am anticipating receiving this fiscal year when it's said and done, so we'll kind of look at that. Usually I wait till I start to get the April allocations, and then I look at everything across the board, and then we'll start to make some more refined yet conservative projections on all of that. We are still awaiting final updates from our insurance carrier as to adjustments in property liability. Two pieces of news that came from this, one good, one not so good, is I think I told you recently at a meeting that I'm expecting our workers' comp experience modification factor to go down. It did significantly from 172% to 135%. So that is why when you look at this budget, you see a lot of actual reductions to work comp. What I'm waiting on is the actual flat rates. Which I do anticipate will go up a little bit, but this is the big one. So the way the experience modification factor works is you take your flat rates and then you times it by whatever your experience modification factor was. So for this current fiscal year, it was 172%. For next fiscal year, it's going to go down to 135%. However, that follows with, we did receive a letter from them letting us know that on property liability insurance, through their reinsurers, they are expecting anywhere from a 12 to 17% increase. So I will start to crank out some of those numbers and how they're allocated across all departments, and that'll be incorporated into the next budget. It's not quite as easy as just saying times everything by 17%, because there's a lot that goes into it. Otherwise, everything else, you know, kind of sits at the same level that they were at. I did go through the capital expenditures, removed anything that had already been expended. So all that is sitting in capital right now is strictly things that I anticipate most likely being carried over. One minor exception is I'm trying to work and hopefully be able to get done before the end of this year, the bunk room conversion for the fire department, but I've left it in the budget for the time being right now. So it is still represented in there. I will sit down with the fire captains, I'll sit down with Luke, we'll go through all of our kind of identified future capital needs as well as anything else that maybe isn't on our capital needs assessment lists, and we'll look at appropriate capital expenditures for the coming year. With that, like I said, I don't really feel like going. The one thing I did want to bring note to actually is on streetlights. If you look at the streetlights, you'll notice that it's actually currently showing a negative balance due to rising cost of energy, of electricity for powering the lights, as well as we have a monthly service and maintenance contract that takes care of very basic maintenance, like a light bulb goes out, they fix it, stuff like that. I'm anticipating just those two very basic costs to finally eclipse what we bring in from our streetlight assessment. I am currently working with legal. Streetlights is a little bit different than our special taxes in that it is an assessment, kind of like a sewer assessment or water rates, things along those lines. It's not a special tax. It was passed by an ordinance created in 1980 that allowed us a maximum of $15 per applicable improved parcel, and it's gone up several times throughout the years. Up until 2010, when it was increased to the full $15. So the board does not have a capability right now of increasing beyond the $15 per applicable parcel. So I'm trying to get some information from legal on what would be the steps and procedures if you wanted to increase that. I will say right now, this is showing basic, everything goes well for the year. Streetlights cost more than the designated funding to bring it in. If you have any actual real repairs that need to be made, those happen at additional costs. So, and depending on what type of light it is, where it is, access to it, if it's underground, overground, that can easily become thousands of dollars per repair. So I will bring you more information on the streetlight thing.
Do other areas have had to go back and ask?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Otherwise, all the numbers are there. It's the same format that I've been presenting this for the past several years, where the far left column shows you what our current budget is. The second to the left column is our actuals as of February 29th, with the caveat that I haven't fine-tooth combed these, so there could be some subsequent journaling. And usually that's just moving things from one account line to a different account line. And then where we stand for the 24-25, as well as what change are there. As you'll see, especially on the revenue side, there's really not much in the line of changes. The grant revenue, that was the playground grant. I'm expecting all that revenue to come in this year. The playground's done, which, you know, has been an actual improvement to our parks for the people. I had to throw that out there. Otherwise, any questions?
I just have one question.
Yes.
So I'm just noticing the audit and accounting line item, there's a not insignificant increase. Any particular reason?
I looked at what our actuals turned out to be based on kind of the estimated amount at the beginning, and then added a little bit more to that because everything gets more expensive, especially service and labor. And that's basically what that is.
It's not that we're doing more auditing or anything, it's just.
No,
that
I
it's-
know, I'm just,
Yeah.
I wasn't.
The
sure
cost of auditing
If
services
it was
is
like,
gone.
if there was a change in what the pricing was for the auditing services that we employ, or can we be got
No,
vendor,
if you look
or-
at audit and accounting, you can see I budgeted 15 for it last time, but we actually spent 16,229. So I moved it up to 17,500 just to give us a little bit of a buffer space over what we actually spent. The audit also includes preparation for the state controller's office report that they do all the work on. It's basically our revenue and expenditure report that gets sent out to the state controller. So they work on, they prepare and do that and submit it for us as well.
Eric, does that also have to do with the I mean, it's not, so every 2 years we have to do the actuarial?
No, that is captured in consultants.
Okay.
Consultant fees, in fact, I just entered into a new 2-year agreement for both GASB 68 and GASB 75. You're talking about basically the pension actuarial and the OPEB actuarial.
Yeah.
Those are different, but that information does make its way to the audit as well, but they're performed by different people.
Any other questions? Any public questions?
Please. I noticed a comment in there about increasing the
Can we start with this?
the contingencies for the fire engines, the aging fire engines. I think we're 10 years into a 20-year situation with the latest fire engine. Is it having trouble?
It's aging. They're very expensive to work on, and have gotten a lot more expensive to work on. I wouldn't look at it in terms of like a car. It's has it had its share of work that's needed to be done? Absolutely. Is that work becoming more expensive to do all the way around? Absolutely.
Will it make 20?
I wouldn't hold my breath.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
God deliver us.
Yeah, and I will tell you, the cost of an engine is probably about 200% more than it was when you bought that thing 9 years ago.
Right.
And the wait lists are about 2 years long.
That's the concern. Okay, understood.
Ours too.
Next question. I talked to Eric about this before, I'm sorry, the district manager about this before the meeting. And with regard to the street lights, and I had to laugh about looking for a new rate when we're gonna have a $735 loss. But to pencil onto that, is there any harm or any barrier to us setting aside a contingency fund for things that may happen, as opposed to just raising the rates to taxpayers for any work that may have to occur with the streetlights? Something to consider. Generally speaking, in the past, when the district manager and the staff was truing up the budget, oftentimes there would be an increase in the bottom line as opposed to a decrease. It seems like it's been following that same path over time due to real estate prices raising and, you know, homes selling, et cetera, et cetera. Is that a legitimate possibility this year?
Yes,
Okay.
on both revenue and expense.
Okay, but I mean, right now, as it stands, granted, you have a negotiation in front of you, you have other insurance issues that are coming up that could, you know, increase expenses. But we're looking at, if I understand it, a $573,000 gain. Is that correct?
As it stands right now, yes. Do I expect that to stay there? No.
Do you expect it to go down?
Yes,
You do?
yes.
Okay. Having said that, I saw language in the report that you've asked for payment of a grant. Did I understand that properly? Okay, so that would be cash influx, right?
Mhm.
And there's also the possibility, although we don't know for sure, of FEMA and Cal OES reimbursing us, I believe, for $345,000, or some $310,000 if 90% of it was reimbursed. Is that also true?
Yes, it would be more than 310, and I seriously don't expect to see that next year. That's not reflected, so let me back up. First off, the grant, and that's basically the difference in the two numbers right now from 23-24 to 24-25, that and the current secured on the revenue side was for the playground. That money's actually already been expended.
Correct.
So it's more reimbursement, but
Correct,
that
yeah.
will come in this year and is accounted for in this year's revenue budget, taken off the line for next year.
Okay.
For the FEMA work, also that money has been expended for the most part now. I think the only thing left is a 5% retention.
Mm-hmm.
I do not, none of that was budgeted within the operating budget.
Mm-hmm.
That was accounted for in a separate kind of capital look and all marked under FEMA.
Balance sheet stuff. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, but there's a P&L for it as well. It's just not part of the annual operating.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I have no clue when we can expect to see that money.
Oh, okay.
My best guess is all of it. If it goes by what our last claim was, 7 years.
Uh-huh, okay.
To be very honest with you.
Without interest.
Yeah, I literally had them coming back at me a month and a half ago, asking to close out a FEMA process from 2017.
I see. Okay, well, we can always dream. Thank you,
Uh-huh.
appreciate that. And again, if this is something I need to submit in writing, I would be happy to do that. I'm just curious, do you have a ballpark figure for our capital reserve balance?
600,000.
600,000.
Mhm.
That's good,
Mhm.
because when you consider what you folks have achieved over the last 2 or 3 years, from a district 15 years ago that had nothing but deferred maintenance to where we are now and have that much set aside for capital improvements, those are good things. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank
We
you.
got a thumbs up for something.
Okay.
So as Jeff brought home, this is gonna change quite a bit.
Wait, what?
This budget will
This
change
budget.
quite a bit. The April version will be much different than what you're looking at here, and then we'll lead into May, which hopefully by April, I've got most 95% of the work done here.
Do you wanna ask? No, you don't, okay. I said, do you wanna ask?
No. He doesn't talk. Or I looked at it, he's like,
Okay.
What's up? Number 2, the increase of the amount of the special tax for the fire protection and emergency services.
Yep, again, gave you a brief staff report here. So written into the original voter-approved ballot measures was a clause allowing for both taxes to be raised by the amount of CPI increase. The consumer price index, we always use the end of the calendar year, being December 31, 2023. For that date, it was stated as a 2.6%. So these resolutions formally authorize the finance department to set the rate at what is stated in the resolutions. Total fiscal impact of this is just under $50,000, with $11,252 increasing on the park tax and $38,543 increasing on the fire tax.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a routine thing that we do this time of year every year.
Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second. We're just doing 2 right now, or both?
You can do both. I mean, if the votes are exactly the same. But you do need to open it up to public comment.
I get it. Do you make a motion on both?
Sure.
Do you second on both?
I second on both.
There you go. Do you have any public comments? Okay,
Yes.
I have to pause for one moment, because I have to say this. I have to give you 3 minutes. Can you ask all your questions, and then we address it? Because that's the rule.
Okay, did I go over last time?
Well, we
A
discussed.
little bit, but we enforce it with everybody.
I
So I'm
appreciate
just
that, I'm
saying.
sorry.
No, it's
Turn the thing
okay.
on.
It's okay.
I can hear.
Well, I want it's whatever the noise that you said does. It's the fun alarm.
color?
The fun bill.
There
Fun
you
one.
go. There you go.
Okay.
Push
Very
it.
good.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
Okay,
Perfect.
with
Thank
regard
you.
to the special taxes, once again, we're talking about a budget that's showing $573,000 of so-called profit or gain. Let's say that gets cut in half because of the negotiations and the insurance costs. We're still making money. This is essentially a nonprofit organization. So if you look at it, I'm just saying this as a devil's advocate here. Okay? If you look at it, 2011 Measure G has the wording that it allows that the tax may be increased. It's not automatic. Okay? And you have to, as a board member, I would recommend that you all consider whether you really need $50,000 when you're making money the way you are. That's just my devil's advocate position. Again, these are taxes that go right on everybody's property tax bill. Okay?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I respond?
Yes.
I think Jeff brought up a salient point earlier when he said, 15 years ago, the district had nothing. In fact, the district couldn't even make it through the month of October without running negative into cash flow. Those things certainly have changed. We started this fiscal year with enough in our general fund, basically the same amount that we had budgeted for. You have a $600,000 board designated reserve. You don't have an emergency fund reserve, you don't have any sort of investment reserves. This district has millions of dollars in future debt owed. So to answer the question of does the district need it, my resounding answer would be yes.
Thank you. All right, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. And now on to the exciting district managers report.
All right. Flip to that page.
What pretty pictures
Yeah, we'll get to those. In fact, I'll get to the Creek Bank work last. Already talked about it, but on the Marinwood Park Playground, all the grant closeout documentation has been submitted. It is currently being reviewed for completeness. We are awaiting a final site visit from our assigned grant representative who works for the state. I don't have a set date on that, but I did also kind of tell her, look, if you find yourself in the neighborhood, just swing by and somebody can take you the 30 steps over so you can see that the sign is in place and there is actually new playground equipment there. And then I've also submitted our request for payment of the grant funds. She seemed pretty confident that all that should be completed and funds in hand by the end of the year. A little update on the community phone line outage. I know you guys were aware of it. Essentially, we had no phones in the pool or in the community center for 3 weeks' time. That's because somebody came through and stole the main lines, vandalized the main lines along Lucas Valley Road, that impacted anybody with a landline in this entire area. I learned that it happened also in a different area over in Terra Linda. That has all since been repaired. Fortunately though, the fire department happens to be on a different circuit, so the fire department phones weren't affected, so they still had phone lines next door, and I believe that they've actually put all of our lines on that same circuit now, so hopefully that will alleviate this problem from happening in the future. I will be reaching out to AT&T to make sure that my February bill is prorated accordingly. But anyway, they stole the phone lines to harvest the metal inside. Election results, as of the time I wrote this, both measures were well on their way to passing at 73 and 75%. Those numbers as of yesterday's count have actually gone up to 76 and 78%. All they need is 50.1% to pass, so we are in good shape with both of those. A couple items of note that I wanted to bring up. One, just kind of been looking through things. Our current employee handbook was adopted in May 2018. It was actually drafted probably a year or two before that, but took a while to actually get to the adoption stage due to various reasons. I would certainly recommend, if the board would like to participate, otherwise we can kind of take the lead on this as staff. It should be revisited, it should go through a legal review. It is probably the single most important document for any employer to have, and right now we're working on 6, 7, 8 years since it was last thoroughly updated. Just making sure any legal things that need to go in there are in there, so on and so forth. So one thing I would suggest is if board would like to be involved, potentially 2 board members are assigned to work with me on this, and we can take this offline, work on it, go through reviews, create a red line version, and then bring it back for potential adoption in a public meeting. But I do think it's something that needs to be looked at. That said, there could also be changes that might trigger a meet and confer with labor on this as well. Anything that impacts wages, hours, terms, or other working conditions. Though most of that is overwritten within their own MOU. The other thing I wanted to bring here, and this is, nobody has come to me on this is just something that I wanted to bring out and kind of paying attention to a lot of other meetings, is that our board meetings are some of the latest board meetings that I'm aware of anywhere across the county, with starting at 7:30. I don't know if there's any appetite or even availability of the board to be able to meet earlier, but that's just something that I thought I'd put out there for the board to ponder on, whether that's starting at 7. All of our commission meetings now start at 7. It kind of keeps it consistent with that. I know Santa Fe recently changed their meeting time from 7 to 6. School board meets at 6. A lot of places meet earlier. I think it still allows working people to attend the meetings if they want. I mean, the board of supervisors meets at 9 in the morning, but they also have 5-hour board meetings under many different umbrellas. So just something to think about. If there was something that would actually require a change to the board bylaws, so it would come back up as a formal action item on board of amending the board bylaws, because the start time is stated within there. I don't know if there's availability, or if people can't make it until 7:30. I don't know that it would increase your public participation, or make it easier for future board members to participate on the board. We do have 3 seats coming up in November. And then the final thing I had on here is the Creek Bank Slide Repair Project. I did give you all some shiny pictures of it. If you haven't had a chance to actually see it in person, you should. The group that came in did a really, really good, really clean job with it. Myself, Luke, and John Paul all sleep better at night knowing that we'll show up in the morning and the mechanical room is gonna be sitting right where we left it, and not in the middle of the creek. I can't say enough about Westward Builders. I'm really happy they bid on the job. They were incredibly communicative. I think the best thing I can tell you about them is throughout the life of a very complex project overseen by 3 different engineers coming back at them and asking them to redo things a certain way or whatever, they haven't issued a single change order, with the exception of a deductive change order for the waterproofing work, which, as I told you, FEMA has basically said, I don't think we're gonna cover this, so we're trying through the state. We clarified the scope of work from what they bid to what the engineer intended, and they actually reduced the cost by about $19,500 on that piece of work. The only other change order that came through was a request that staff made, in that we wanted to add a secondary gate, so they charged us the cost for the fence company to add a secondary gate, so that we could close off an area but still be able to access it easily if needed. Otherwise, that project is, for all practical purposes, 98% complete. The creek design engineer, environmental engineer will be by tomorrow to do a final inspection of all the work. From there, we will work on creating a punch list of any potential outstanding items, if any, and then once that punch list is completed and then this project is done, we'll file a notice of completion and release the 5% retainer.
I will just add that it's way better in person.
Yeah. It looks really good.
The pictures are great, but it's way better.
It'll look a lot better too as all those plantings start to take root and grow and it'll fill in there. I mean, they did a really good job. They were really easy to work with, all the way down to, I mean, they did some, I don't want to say significant, but the top of the lawn area got pretty well chewed up, and I think they were pretty good at repairing that, working with our park guys. We did have our park guys replaced. There was a couple areas where the irrigation had minor damage to it, and we wanted our park guys to kind of do that so they knew what the repairs were, where they were located. Maybe a cracked sprinkler head along the way, but no real major damage to any of that. Nothing that took it more than probably, like half a day to repair.
Yeah, it was supposed to be there.
And then they brought in the dirt, they graded it all out, they seeded it all. We'll close off that area while the seed takes root. But otherwise, these guys, and with please chime in, because you were certainly working a lot with them too. But in my opinion, I think they did a really good job. They're very clean, very honest, open, straightforward, and by no stretch of the imagination tried to change order us to death on this, considering they didn't have any change orders emanating from them.
Amazing.
Second all that.
Any questions?
On the report, so a couple of things. Wrong way. So you
Well, can
mentioned.
Can I start really quick? Do you wanna just go by item, be like, can we like address the handbook part and then address, is that okay? So then, like sectional?
Doesn't matter.
Do you have any,
So, yeah, I mean, the items of note is kind of where I have my comment. So I would be happy to participate in the work stream with the employee handbook. I have a little bit of background in that area, professionally.
I was hoping you would volunteer.
And then secondarily, the board meeting start time, I personally would be open to an earlier start time. And you mentioned the bylaws and the start time being in our bylaws. I guess a question I have is the day of the week where we have the meeting also in the bylaws, and could that be amended? Okay, so that is something, that's another, if we're gonna look at changing the time, I'd like us to also consider looking at the day in the week as well.
So it looks like we have a future agenda. Any comments on employee handbook?
I do not have the work experience to help out, but I would be willing to help out with the employee handbook if you guys would be willing to have me, but clearly Lisa knows more than I do, and I am open to looking at a different start time and a different day or whatever we decide to look at.
A different day.
I'm just,
Hey,
she
not your
opened it
minute.
up, so I said,
Not
I'm
your
open
turn.
to whatever we decide to discuss. Don't look at me like that.
I think Kathleen and Lisa hit the nail on the head. What this would be is a future agenda item for potential board bylaws amendments, and then it can be more thoroughly discussed with potential action on it, and I could put that on the next agenda.
As far as the handbook goes?
Do you wanna volunteer? I mean,
No.
both slots, wait, both slots have already been taken.
No. I have a question.
Oh.
That's all. I'm just curious, are you gonna push it through legal first before you start working on it?
I thought about that, Bill, and that's a good question. I think it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other. I think that there's certain things that are gonna need a legal review, and then there's certain things that don't.
Yeah, wouldn't it be better to have it go through legal first before,
Change
because,
things that aren't legal, then you'll never know.
well, no, but you have to satisfy whatever requirements are
Yeah,
duly legal and have changed over the last few years.
yeah.
Great suggestion.
I think legal will take some time, so I would probably recommend engaging that process, having them come and do basically a legal audit of it, and these are gonna be things like, Healthcare Act type items, minimum, sick leave for part-time employees have been updated, things like violence prevention policies, need to make sure that that's in there and is up to current standards, so.
Proper approach.
Liebert Cassidy Whitmore is the firm who we used when we did it last time. They were very helpful. I do think that they can be working concurrently, so we can still be identifying other areas of the handbook, and if there's anything that we make changes to that we feel should also be reviewed, those can be brought to the attention of the legal counsel doing a larger review.
Okay. If Chris wants to be the other person. are
I'm
you-
happy to
understand?
let him go with
Then,
it.
then we should just sign him up.
No, I'm not gonna do that to him. And this is what Isabel worked on, right? This is from back when Isabel worked on it with you guys?
Isabel was one of the people who worked on it, yes.
Okay.
Do you have, excuse me, do you have any comment about the board meeting? Just moving it?
Yeah, it would be an odd thing not having it on the second Tuesday of every month.
Okay. We'll add it as an agenda item. Talk about it later.
Because it's only been like that for, I don't know, ever.
I don't know. Okay, so Savon and Lisa will help you with the,
Handbook?
thank you. And I just wanna, again, reiterate and thank you for all the work that all you guys have done, you two, for the creek bed and handling it and seeing it. We're almost there. We're so close, but then you get to start your next one, whatever that next one might be.
Well, we're nowhere near close with the FEMA application part. So
No. I said
this
the
thing's not gonna
project.
go away for a long
I
time,
didn't
but
say
the
the
project is
FEMA,
done.
I didn't say getting the money, just the people being here.
Yeah.
Any other, and then I'm glad that you guys got the phones right back, right before, camp opened. So, congratulations.
For better or worse.
Congratulations on that.
Oh, boy.
I will say, for a work productivity standpoint, it was probably the single most productive 3 weeks in the history of the office, without the phone ringing every two minutes. And as soon as it came back on, we knew it.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. All right, thank you. Other comments?
Really short ones.
Yeah, good. You all
I had a
agree?
walk through the creek bed over here and it's gorgeous. It's really, really a nice job. Very impressed and very relieved too.
Yes.
And just a really short comment on Bill's item. When we went into negotiations with the safety employees one year, we first brought, I think, that firm in. He took one look at the MOU and immediately made all sorts of changes to it from a legal standpoint. So I think involving them as soon as possible is a great idea on the employee handbook. Thank you.
Perfect.
I
So we have
will,
a future agenda.
yeah, I will say about the creek, that even though you're saying, you know, things haven't grown in yet, I liked looking at the creek, standing there, our creek is gorgeous. And there are some areas, when you walk down, you can be like down the creek, but there's not many areas where you can stand above and look at it, because we've tried to keep it natural, so it's kind of fun as it grows back into being natural to peek at it, so there's that.
I agree.
Not that we should keep it that way, but I'm just saying it's fun to
It looks nice, but my main objective was it to be a
Functional.
functional repair.
I know.
And that goal was accomplished, so it will grow back in 5 years from now. You won't know anything happened
look.
Oh, we will.
there.
All right, fire department matters. We didn't have a meeting, but if you wanna go over.
If there's, I guess the best thing I would say is just if there's any questions on the chief report, and I'm happy to answer them the best I can or pass them on. Chief Roman wasn't able to attend tonight, but he did provide the report.
Or we can ask the fireman in-house.
Not qualified to answer any questions.
Just to
We're
save
under
lives.
6 minutes.
I know, we are under 6 minutes again. Congratulations again. Thank
The only thing I would update on here, and I don't know if Luke has it in his report, so if I'm stealing your thunder, Luke, tell me. But Luke and I did sit down with the veg management specialists who are actually work for Centerville Fire Department, but have been helping us throughout all the MWPA stuff. We've certainly identified the next areas to start addressing. So that work is coming. We'll be submitting that paperwork into MWA as our proposed project. So again, they remain great to work with, and it's nice to have their expertise on it.
I have a question. Queenstone. I noticed that they're gonna do the, of course, they're gonna improve, because it's rutted like crazy right now, but they're gonna improve that. But along the side, in the old days, they used to put the piles of vegetation, and then during late fall, winter, burn piles. Are they gonna continue, they're going back to that too, the MWPA is trying to move that along?
To go back to
Yeah.
burn piles?
Yeah,
It's an option. A lot of it depends on where things are located, ease of hauling out versus a beneficiary of having it as a burn pile. Those determinations haven't been made. There is two aspects of work being done on Queenstone. Well, one aspect of work being done, and that is kind of that vegetation clearance to keep
Right,
vegetation
along
from
the sides.
overcoming the road, so that there's
Right.
plenty of room by which to pass, and that also includes any invasive or dead, disease type debris that's up there. They get rid of all of that as well. And then the secondary part, which is something we're gonna be applying for this go around, is to be able to use core funds, which aren't the funds that come directly to
Right.
Marinwood, to be able to regrade the road.
okay.
Because it needs it.
Mhm.
Can I ask a question?
Only one.
The medical assist calls, are we seeing an increase with the new Vincent memory care going up, like opening up and people living in there? Are we gonna be having more, or are we not hitting that up?
The
Was the
Vincent, that's over.
Isn't it the Vincent? It's like on,
That's at,
it's across the highway from the Civic Center, and I didn't know if we cover that at all.
I mean, mutual aid,
Yeah,
you know, if engine 5.7, engine 5.6, engine
Yeah.
5.2 are all on calls,
then
we've
you,
gone down there
okay,
once or twice,
okay.
but pretty rare, it's pretty deep
I'm
for us to
gonna
go all the
go
way
no.
there for medical aid.
Well, I didn't know if that was the mutual aid or where it fell under this, and I was just wondering now that,
It's probably mutual aid Santa Fe.
okay. Cause I got stuff to my house addressed to my mother, which was hilarious, letting her know that that place opened up and she should come take a look at it. She doesn't live in town.
Where is it?
It's right off the freeway,
It's right off.
there's a lot of stuff.
So-
Oh, that new one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was just wondering, as people are coming in, if we're gonna see an increase in calls there, cause I know that we get calls to those sorts of facilities.
Yeah,
periodically, so-
Santa Fe goes there quite often.
Okay.
I mean, they're probably, I don't know, I haven't been paying super close attention, we'll probably go there 3 or 4 times a day, sometimes more, sometimes less.
And that's what I was hoping that we're not, you guys aren't having to do that.
Wait till.
Yeah, it's
I know,
pretty deep for us to go down there, but stranger things have happened.
okay.
What would be the issue? Just out of curiosity.
Death.
I just, I mean, the medical assist.
I mean,
I remember from years ago sitting on the fire commission being told that a lot of these facilities were not fully staffed and that there would be there have been an increase in calls to fire departments to help with medical assists. It should be more
In-house.
in-house staffed, but because they low staff. And then there's, I don't remember fully, but there was like how much we were actually getting paid for doing these things was not quite. So, but this was years ago when I was on the fire commission as a commissioner, so I just always had that like in the back of my head, that's why I asked the question, and I now drop it and let's move forward.
okay. Awesome. Do you have any public comments?
Always. Volunteer fire department still operating?
No,
No.
It is not. Okay.
it hasn't been since the pandemic.
I was curious about that. Okay. We're evidently having difficulty finding a new firefighter.
Yes.
And that's been going on for how long?
Year and a half. Did we
Okay.
all answer?
Not me.
And do we still have one on disability?
No.
Really? That's good news.
Answer that.
Okay, there was comment on the chief's report about a change in dispatch.
Oh, yeah.
Before we got dispatch through San Rafael, is that still the case? No extra cost?
Nope.
Okay, very good, that's it, thank you.
All right. Any public
No,
comment?
no,
I mean, this
thank
is your
you.
section.
No, I already answered the question.
You did great, Thomas.
Thank you. That was, I could answer that question.
Like, this is the one time that, you know, the fire
You have
department
more
matters.
expertise than any of us, yeah.
Okay. The report that we've all been waiting for. Luke,
Drum roll, please.
parking rec.
Thank you.
You
I'm
don't
not
have to
gonna
compete
read
with
through,
Chris tonight.
through all my things, but the big news is today was our opening of camp registration, camp and pool, and all of our summer program registration for Marinwood residents opened this morning. And thankfully that all went very smoothly. We didn't really have any issues. I am grateful the phones are working, because otherwise it would be seen as providing horrific customer service. So the phones just rang and no one answered them, which is what was happening when the phones were down. It was just ringing and no one was answering. So we were able to get all the phone calls and help everybody get their kids into the camps and swim lessons and pool memberships and things they needed today. So it was very busy, but things went really smoothly. And the bigger day will be on Thursday when we open up registration to the general public, not just residents. And that'll be a much busier time when I think a lot of things will be filling up and people will be stressed out and the wait lists will start. So, but everything was going really well and we were encouraged by the way the first day went. So Staff did a great job fielding all the crazy questions and dealing with all the confused people coming in, and it was great. So the other thing that was kind of noteworthy in my report that I wanted to touch on was that we had the trail running event took place a couple weekends ago called the Big Alta, which was on February 24th and 25th. And that was the first time we've done something like this, at least since I've worked here. And we had this group called Daybreak Racing approach us looking to do a trail running event utilizing aspects of the Marinwood open space and trails and Queenston Fire Road. The trail event actually was utilized trails all around this area in Marin County open space and Nevada open space as well as Marinwood. And it was a pretty big event. It was 50K on Saturday and then a 28K on Sunday. And yeah, the event was really cool, and we did some research on the company that puts this on, and they do this full time all over the country. And I've talked to some people with Marin County that had worked with them before. They do other events in China Camp and Mount Tam and stuff throughout the year. They had nice things to say. So yeah, we tried it out, and the event was really cool. I know some of the rec stuff, I was able to check it out on the Saturday. I know Eric came by on the Sunday, and all of us were impressed with just the quality of the event. It was very well run, very impressive. And they sent us the stats, and the turnout was really cool. I put all that in the report. I'm not going to read through all that, but just the number of people that signed up, I was very impressed that they had 457 total people that raced, and almost everybody finished, and that represented people from 31 states and 2 Canadian provinces and people from Sweden and England and Colombia. So that was a pretty neat thing, and I guess it was streaming. One of the people putting it on lives in Marinwood and streamed the event out of his garage to like over 20,000 people viewed it over the course of the weekend and then some of the days following. So it was a really big deal. I didn't realize that trail racing was so huge of a sport, and I had no idea. So and everyone was really neat. It was a really cool kind of subculture that was out in the park that day, and everyone seemed really nice and very supportive. So. We're very happy with how that went, and the weather really cooperated. So we're talking to the organization about future events, and we'll see what happens. We're assessing the areas that were used that day just to make sure things are in good shape, and there was no real problems or issues. But as far as we know, everything went really well. They took care of business and cleaned up really well. So that was an exciting thing, and we're happy to kind of showcase Marinwood to a wider audience and give people in town, actually a lot of people, there were a handful of racers that came from Marinwood, and a lot of people from the area, a lot of people from Marin County. So that was neat to give our residents a chance to participate in something like that right in their own backyard. So that was really exciting. The other big event that happened since we last met was our annual wine tasting event, Raise a Glass, which was on March 2nd, and that was a really great event. We had one of our best turnouts since we started the event back in 2010. We had 10 wineries and live music, and the place was just packed. It was raining, which may have helped. There was nothing else to do, so I came to drink wine and hang out. But it was a really, really fun event. It went really well, and everyone had a great time. It was nice to just see that event continuing to be popular and actually growing. So our next community event will be the annual Spring Art Show on April 27th, and so that'll be another great one. I'll talk more about that next meeting, but we're excited for another art show. And then lastly, for the recreation side, just wanted to note that we have a survey out right now that originated in the Parks and Rec Commission involving or regarding whether or not to add pickleball lines to the lower tennis courts over by the middle school. The commission wanted to engage the public and find out what the interest is and what people's concerns, comments are. So we're collecting data right now, continuing to have that survey out. Eric, that ends in the next...
we'll shut it off on Sunday.
So that's just a few more days.
Do we have people responding?
Yeah, there've been a lot of, I don't know exactly how many we have as of today, but there's been a lot of response. We've got
Okay,
a lot of information to go through and to talk about. And,
As of last week, it was over 130 people responding.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah, and I
nice.
think we've
I
had,
filled it out.
I filled it out.
I took the survey.
Thanks, Bill. So yeah, so it'll be, I
I
think,
thought I recognized the snark.
we'll be discussing that at the next commission meeting and just to kind of see, you know, this is still an early part of just deciding, you know, what's the interest, is this a good idea, just kind of talking about what that might look like and whether it's something that the church, you know, would want to look at. So no decisions are being made, it's more just collecting information and having a discussion. So there'll be more to report in the coming.
Can I add
Yeah, please.
really quick? In addition to posting the survey a couple different times on Nextdoor and our other social media, and we have a signboard down by the tennis courts, I also sent personalized letters to 18 different residents that were all within 550 feet of that court, so that they were personally made aware, asked to participate, and also made aware of when survey results will be shared and discussed with the commission on what date, and encouraged to attend if they had any comments. So we try to reach out to the direct neighbors, and I'll also be reaching out directly to the middle school principal to see if they have anything that they want to say about it.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I think the goal is just to try to hear from anyone that's has an interest one way or the other, and just make sure we have all the information to kind of have an informed discussion. More to come on that in the coming months. Before I move over to parks maintenance, does anyone have any questions about things in the recreation part of my report?
I was just gonna say that I was home that weekend, I didn't know it was coming, and I was a little surprised by people parking. I was like, pool's not open yet. But no, it was really great. We were at the park, they were having the event, and I got hungry with all the food tents and stuff, and it looked really well run. There was not trash everywhere, although the energy packets, the crows came and like spread them around the park a little bit.
Oh, well,
That's the grass.
yeah.
So I don't know if we can ask them, that was on Sunday, if we can ask them, or we can like change out the trash bag. I'm horrified by kids by picking up trash around the park while they were playing. But I was like, oh, this is Sunday, so maybe we didn't empty the bins and that was.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have been really great to work with.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would do whatever and
Yeah.
be sure, so that's something that we would
They had
What
the
was
porta
in,
potties
because
right there.
the
at
crows
the
grab it
perfect
and then they
spot.
flew
I mean,
into the playground.
I thought it was
and
really, really well organized.
Yeah, no, it was, exactly, so it was, it was just an easy group to work with. And
I mean, that's literally the only thing that I saw was,
Yeah, no, it's good,
but
that's good
it looks
feedback.
really, yeah.
Come on, when we showed up on Monday, you could tell that there'd been some platforms and stuff on the grass, because it was like a little matted down, but
Yeah.
besides that, they left the place, as they found it, and I was, impressed. No, actually, the grass was super wet because it had rained the 3 days prior, but it really dumped, and they'd made the decision to move their whole setup over to avoid the muddier areas, and they're trying to preserve the lawn, and I'm very grateful for that, so, it was great.
And not a single medic call.
Yeah. Do you have any comments or
yeah.
questions?
Well, just comments. So first of all, the summer camp offerings are amazing. Thank you so much for just the thought that went into the options, because I noticed there were a number of different types of camp options that was, and that just appeared new to me this year, so thank you for that. I'm really excited. And then I also, I really like that, we're still having the senior stroll. I can imagine that that's also very well received, and, I'm hoping that continues.
Yeah, I got to go on this last one, which I wasn't planning on doing. It just ended up being that, something that I had to do. And I had a wonderful time, and it was a lovely group. And it's something we'll keep going. It's building an interest, and it's really easy to do. So it's nice.
Do you want to take public comment on half, or do you have any public comment, or do you want to?
You can always count on me.
Yeah, we can break it up.
It's your choice. Sorry.
Yes, no?
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you advertise the senior strolls? I went on the one prior to this one, but I never saw an ad. Is it on the site?
It's on our website, and we do have we have it listed in our Marinwood review. We didn't list all the like dates and locations and information because we're kind of trying to customize it to the group and what people can handle, kind of gauging. So we have an email interest list that we've started. So we in the catalog it says like to contact us for information. Then we add people to our list that we'll reach out to them ahead of the next one and just get a feel for what's an appropriate walk to do and how many staff we need to bring, and we try to customize it. So
I'll talk to John Paul or something.
yeah, we should just follow.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Can I comment on pickleball?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate you guys on the timing of your survey, coincident with everyone getting on the phones and on the website for camp openings and everything. That was probably a good time to do that. Of course, everyone's aware of the fact that in Berkeley and all over the state of California, there have been numerous lawsuits. In fact, there is a firm that does nothing but handle lawsuits for pickleball claims. Right? So,
I have one
something-
speed dial. Said I have one speed dial.
well, and I appreciate that Eric's taking the time to make sure that people that are close by are, personally alerted. Along with this, has anybody looked at these things called sound curtains? Are you aware of sound curtains?
No, but I would suggest that go to the Park and Rec, because all of the discussion
Fine.
of the pickleball will start with the Park and Rec.
Great, all right, I'm just mentioning it, there's a company out of Massachusetts that sells not only sound curtains, but sound deadening curtains. That might be something that, number one, would hopefully mitigate some of the noise and racket, but also add to the expense of putting a pickleball court in there. So I just thought I would mention that as well.
You can put them around the horseshoe pit too.
Yeah, well, good point.
Sorry.
That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Sorry. Thank you.
Started a lot this meeting.
If there's nothing else on the rec side, I'll talk just briefly about what's going on with the parks maintenance this last month. We did, the staff's been doing a lot in the pool area this month, just getting prepared for the start of the pool season. The Water Devils swim team just started at the end of February, and so we were doing a lot of last minute, just getting things up and running, just kind of cleaning the generators and the filters and getting the pool water to where we needed to be, getting everything heated. And so a lot of work done in the mechanical side of that. Happy to have a mechanical building still standing to be able to have the pool season, so that's great. And then also aesthetically, we've been doing a lot of things around the pool area, both in conjunction with the finishing of the work from the slide. The staff did, as Eric mentioned, do some repairs to the irrigation and just making sure we had capped a bunch of things and kind of shut things off to knowing that there's going to be a lot of disruption in the area. So we're trying to get everything turned back on, locating sprinklers that had gotten buried and making sure everything was working and getting everything put together, back together. And the damage was very minimal. It was actually below what we would have expected for the amount of heavy machinery that was out digging up around there and the excavators and things running around. They left us fairly unscathed, so that was really just really great. We thought we'd have a lot more work to do in terms of digging up the pipes and making big repairs. We had very, very tiny repairs, so that was great. But they've been refurbishing the picnic area where we lost some land and got it back now. So we've been sprucing that up and getting things ready for the pool season to be able to rent that picnic area next to the pump room behind us. And there's been a lot of other work done at the pool. We had a company come in and redo the woodwork around the community center and down at the pool, restaining the areas that were starting to get faded and worn out from the sun. And we've had some painting done around the area and cleaning the deck and just kind of replanting some things. So the pool's looking great. We're really excited. We're going to have it all kind of just shining and sparkling for the start of the official pool season, which starts on April 1st. And so the staff have been really busy just doing that, and they've been working really hard, making everything look really good. And one note on, I think, Savani mentioned the fence looking really, like being able to see the creek is nice, and I agree. I just would point out, we're gonna leave things open, because it is nice to see the creek down there. There may be a reason we need to close that off, just from a safety standpoint.
Well, there's gonna be a fence, but you.
Well, the fence is there, but in terms of climbability of a
Yeah.
fence, there's certain codes about that, and I think because that's a remote area and it's not super accessible, we might be able to leave it, but, we may end up needing to put up some like green screens or something that prevent, yeah, so, well, I'm gonna wait till that's dictated to us,
Yeah.
but, in the meantime, we're enjoying the view there.
Can we keep
Razor
a count
wire
of how
over
many
the top.
kids climb over?
Yes, we'll have a running counter of how many
Perfect.
kids climb over.
We get to 50, we gotta do something.
Yeah. But so far, yeah, the start of the water level season is going well, the pool's looking great. The staff are also gonna be focusing on the 3 parks. Now that the rain is letting up, we'll have a chance to get back out there and finish the north end of the Marinwood Park, finishing the landscaping out there, putting the goggle ball pit back up over there, and a few other things for that, and then we'll be out, we're doing some work at Creekside in the coming weeks. So that's kind of what they've been focusing on. I'll be happy to take questions on parks maintenance, if there's anything.
The pool looks amazing. The benches look amazing. I've actually had multiple people say to me while I'm sitting there, oh, you know, thanks for making it look so nice. And I was like, I will pass it on.
Just say
I had nothing to do with this. And then I was wondering if we've seen an increase in use of the mini park since the new playground was installed.
Sorry.
I'm just asking.
That's a really good question. I don't have information on that. I'll definitely talk to the staff. They're out there, you know, more regularly in terms of seeing if there's been, you know, heavy usage. There seems like there's always
I mean,
a
there
group
always
out there.
seems, when I walk by, there's always somebody there, but
Yeah.
I just didn't know if there was like an increase.
Yeah, nothing that I've heard about or noticed myself, but I'll ask. That's a good question.
But thank you, you guys did an awesome job and it looks amazing. Looking forward to an amazing summer, spring season. Spring, summer, that's the proper.
Any comments, questions?
No, I think they're doing a great job.
Thank you. Comments, questions?
Although we could use some benches on the panel.
Oh, take that under consideration.
That has already been discussed.
No, it actually.
Bring it to the park and rec. Yep, questions? Oh, sorry.
No.
What?
Just getting ready.
All right, I'll whip out a couple.
Last but not least, any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, you should come every month, it'd be really fun. All right, board member items of interest. The only thing that I have on my list is board meeting times and dates.
I have that.
Okay. Anything else, you guys? Nope. Meeting adjourned, 8:50.